Candace Rice, and we are sitting with the marvelous Colleen Doran. So, you have all of this phenomenal artwork on display, and I just want to ask for our fans, how did you get started so long ago? I know you've been doing this for a minute, but if you could think back to the very beginning, what inspired you to become the artist that you are today?
Well, I was when I was a little girl, I saw Sleeping Beauty in a theater. I loved Disney movies, and I thought I would be a Disney animator. But then I discovered comics. I found them under the bleachers at my school, and they were really hard to get where I lived. And when I was sick, when I was 12 years old, a friend of the family gave me a big box of comics to read while I was sick, and I just loved them. I said, I don't want to be an animator, I want to be a cartoonist. This is the way to go. So I started drawing comics voraciously, and within a few years, I had my first job.
Awesome. And what was that first job?
Well, my first work was actually in science fiction and fantasy and in advertising. I was doing stuff for an ad agency when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I think it was actually 15. I can't remember. It's been so long. And then I started working for independent comic book companies. And about a year or so later, I got my first work at DC Comics. And about a year and a half later, I got my first work at Marvel.
Great. And so what advice could you give to up-and-coming artists, because it's so hard for those who try to pursue a career that's creative-based? And so what advice would you give to that individual she's growing up, they're in college, and they have this talent, and there's a lot of competition, and so what advice could you give to somebody that's kind of where you were back before you got that first big job?
Comics is a very labor-intensive profession, and it's really not something you should be pursuing unless you have a killer work ethic. The competition is brutal. There are a lot of people that want to do this, and they think it's going to be fun, and it is, but it's also laborious. There are many long hours at the job, and I was working last year on a job that had to be done very quickly, and I was pulling 100-hour weeks. So I don't recommend it for anybody that isn't absolutely intense. If you are not willing to put in the hardcore hours and the hardcore labor and the hardcore study, you're probably not going to do very well. I mean, if you're really lucky and you sit down and you create something that becomes uber popular, great. But that rarely happens. People that make a living in this business work at it for a really long time, and sometimes don't even... I think most people don't even really get good until they're around 40. There are such a variety of skills that you need to be good at it that it takes a long time to pin down what kind of style you're going to have and what kind of path you're going to take. And it takes a lot of creators a long time to figure that out. So you think about people like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, all the big names. They didn't really get their big hits until they were in their 40s. And it's something for people that are intense and dedicated and focused. And too many people come into it thinking it's going to be a party, but it's hard work. There's a lot of partying going on. It's super fun. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm doing all these great projects, working with all these great people. But those 100-hour weeks are a reality check. So... I don't want to do that every week, but you got to be willing,
I love it. Thank you so much. And you're a beautiful woman, by the way.
Oh, You're getting a compliment from this super cute girl sitting next to me. Thank you.
You are. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that advice because, a lot of people, they look at pursuing their dreams and they're like, oh, I'll get it in a couple of years, and they don't know just the work that comes with it. So thank you for breaking that down to us and our audience. Once again, we are here with the beautiful Colleen Doran.